Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Drinking? The show that tries to answer the question of what's in the water that we all drink. I'm Chris, your water sommelier. Today is a special episode in that we're testing something that you shouldn't drink. I have a bottle here that I filled in the tap of an airplane. I was on a Delta flight back from Denver. And one of the things, there's signs up everywhere on the flight and stuff that say, do not drink the water from the restroom tap. Now, I asked the flight attendant why they say that, and she said the tanks that water is stored in are not cleaned all that often. They're cleaned, relatively infrequently, and so you get a lot of buildup of stuff in those tanks. She then said that's one of the reasons why, depending on the airline you're on, depending on the aircraft type you're on, sometimes those tanks can be very clean, sometimes less clean. And just to be aware of that. She did say that the onboard coffee is brewed with a separate water supply, so at least on that flight. So she said that's safe to drink. And the ice that is brought onto the plane is brought in by catering as well as ice that is made from the water supply on the plane. But they say pretty clearly, don't drink this stuff. So we're going to test it to see if in fact you really shouldn't drink it or not. So we have our handy water testing kit. We're going to start with our reference water, which is the reverse osmosis water I make here at home. Let's go ahead and test this out. Let's see how we're doing for today. Our pH of our test sample is 6.7, which is normal for reverse osmosis water. Our millisieverts per centimeter is at 3. Our total dissolved solids is 1 part per million. Our salinity is 0. Our specific gravity is 1.0. Our redox potential is 406 millivolts. So that is our reference water, and that is in good condition. That is what you want.
What Are You Drinking is sponsored by TrustInsights.ai. Want to get up to speed on generative AI and its uses, especially for marketing and business? The new self-paced training course, Generative AI for Marketers, will teach you the 6 major use cases of generative AI, tons of hands-on exercises to get you up to speed quickly, and how to use AI in your job and your organization. The first 100 people who visit TrustInsights.ai/AI course and use discount code WATER will get $50 off the course. Now, let's get right back to the video.
Now, let's take our airplane water. And apologies to, whose water is this? This is Nestle Pure Life, I'm pretty sure. None of the original water that was in this water bottle is in here. I dumped it all down the drain so that I could fill it in the plane's restroom. And there's not really a substantial discernible smell to it, so that's something. All right. Here we go. Let's see. First off, this water is 7.6. So actually, that's not bad. Our microsiemens per centimeter is 385. Right. That's electrical conductivity. So there's stuff in here. Our total dissolved solids 192 parts per million. So there's a decent amount of stuff in here. Our salinity, 0.01, so there's some sodium ions in here of some kind. Our specific gravity, 1.001. Again, there's more stuff in here. And our oxidation reduction potential is 362 millivolts. That's bad. Remember that oxidation reduction potential is the ability for water to have enough electrical ions that can potentially reduce the impact of infective agents in it. And you generally want to have it for water that you would be commercially distributing. You'd want to have it in like the 600s and 700s, definitely not in the 300s. If it's down this low, that means that there's a potential for the water to have things growing in it, which you really don't want. So that's bad. That's not great. All right, let's go ahead and take this now and let's put it under the microscope to see what's in the water. We are specifically going to be looking for things like microorganisms, because I'm sure we'll see the usual microplastics and stuff. That's unavoidable in any part in life. But let's take a look. So get on the slide and put it under the scope. Let's see what we got here. We have, there's definitely something in here. What is that? That is plastic. And so we've got, that's a big chunk of plastic. It's probably like 4 or 5 discernible objects, but there's a lot of smaller, semi-clear objects here. Let's zoom in a little bit and see what that might be. Because if it's bacteria or mold, we'd want to know that. I lost sight of it here. Where do we go? Where'd you go? Okay, that is not bacteria. That is another piece of plastic. It's a very small piece of plastic. So here's the deal. For this particular flight, from what I can see and what we tested, there's definitely stuff in this water, but it's not like a crazy high concentration. There's more than anything, there's plastic in here. There's nothing that would be outside of what's your typical drinking water standards are, at least from the perspective of how much stuff is in here. Now remember, none of the instruments that we have at home can test for specific chemicals, right? We can't tell if there's lead or arsenic or stuff like that. We can only tell if there's stuff in it or not stuff in it, or how much stuff is in it. That said, for this flight, on this plane, and the tanks and the condition they were in, the water in this bottle it wouldn't kill you. It might make you sick, but it won't kill you. There were no obvious, swarms of bacteria or anything that was clearly cellular under the microscope. And so if you had to drink this, like if you had no choice, if you had to drink this, you'd probably be okay. With the clear warning, that is not going to be true all the time. Right? That is not going to be true all the time, depending on the airline, depending on how long that plane's been in service, when the last time it was maintained, depending on things like temperature, depending on things like groundwater and where the plane's water tanks were filled. All of that can make a big difference as to how safe or unsafe the tap water is in a plane sink. I would not recommend drinking it. Right? Those signs are up for a reason. Those signs are up to protect the airline from liability if you do happen to drink it. But if there was no other choice, if you were stranded in a runway somewhere and they had no bottled water on the flight, this particular flight, it wouldn't hurt you. That's not going to always be true. So what did we learn today? We learned that there is stuff in the tanks of an airline's water, but for this flight from Denver to Boston, given the cleanliness of the plane and given the newness of the plane, because it was an A321neo, those tanks are probably in decent condition. So had I needed to drink water on this flight from the tap, I could have, probably with relatively minimal side effects. Do not take this as an endorsement. I can't say this enough times. Do not take this as an endorsement that water on a plane from the bathroom sink is safe to drink, because there are signs of telling you it's not. Believe those signs. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you're curious about any of the devices that we're using on the show, the links are in the description, which you can always find. It takes you to Amazon, so I do earn a small but not significant commission on it. And if you want to check the leaderboard for the waters that we're testing on the show and see whose waters have the least stuff in them, the link will be in the description for that as well. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want to know when new videos are available, hit the bell button to be notified as soon as new content is live.